welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson, and this is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
So tonight we are reviewing a new movie that just came out this year called Abigail.
It's only a few weeks ago, actually.
Yeah, don't to be confused with the one that was brought out last year. So don't confuse this one, because this is a supernatural horror movie.
Actually, I'll say something else too. When I was looking for copies of this on Amazon and eBay and the like, when I was looking at the listings and descriptions of it, it's got a pretty little girl in a ballerina dress looking up, and it looks really cute. Now, there's another listing there. It says Abigail. It's got an older person sitting down there in a similar position with guns all around it, and it says it's Abigail, but it's ballerina. So when you go search for this later on, I'll mention it again. And sometimes when you go into Abigail, when they describe the part, it's a sporting thing. It's not bloody sport, so they've got some of the listings wrong. So make sure when you go hunting for it, you check it really good, okay? Because it's a crook listing.
Yeah, as I said, there was another Abigail that came out 1 year, year ago. So
was it a horror movie?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's probably what you would call it, an action or horror or whatever. And it has no connection to this movie whatsoever.
This one, when you tell your story, you'll know it's got nothing to do with it. But just always go by the directors and the leading actors when you go looking for these things, okay? But then you won't make too many mistakes.
Yeah. Anyway, it's an interesting thing. This is probably one movie that some of the reviewers would agree with us that there's nothing wrong with the plot, no wrong with the casting, or nothing wrong with the makeup effects, and nothing wrong with the directorship.
Oh, okay. I'll get into my usual stuff. Okay, right. Okay. Okay. A lot of people involved in this one. Okay, produced by William Sherrack, James Vanderbilt, Paul Neenstein, there's Trip Vinson, and Chad Villela. Villela, yeah. Yeah, Villella, Villela, yeah. Written by Stephen Shields and Gary Busick. Directed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette.
Before we go on, Mike, both those two directors, they worked together on some previous other films together, including the new Scream movies that came out.
That's cool.
So I guess these guys work close together, so they make a good collective
it's
team.
good when you're doing first and second units and stuff. You can run over there and do your stuff, and I'll go over there and do my stuff, and I'll see this afternoon.
We'll see each other in the middle
for afternoon too. Yeah.
And see each other right in the middle. Somewhere.
What's happening? Not a lot.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Okay, right. Blah 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 blah. Starring a girl called Abigail. No.
Yeah.
I won't go into too much, but
But then again, these are the people we followed throughout the movie.
Well, there's about 8. I'll go through all of them. Okay. Melissa Barrera plays Joey, a skilled former military medic struggling with substance abuse issues. Yeah,
before Mike goes on, this actress, she was in the Scream, and she played Sam Carpenter in both those Scream movies that came out.
You go then.
So, and of course, she's not returning for the next movie because of casting issues or disagreements on the payment issues. I don't know. It could go on.
Fine.
But it doesn't stop her working with these directors again. Go on.
Dan Stevens plays Frank, an immoral former police detective.
Yeah. Interesting thing about Dan here is he did 2 other vampire movies in the past. One was a BBC Dracula where he plays Arthur Homewood, and another one which is called Vamps.
Oh, I know Vamps. Yeah. That was good. I like Vamps. That's fun. Yeah.
Go on.
Now, Alicia Weir plays Abigail, a centuries-old vampire who appears as a 12-year-old girl, cute and sweet, not very
deceitful.
Anyway, now Will Catlett plays Rickles, a skilled former military sniper who doesn't help him in this movie.
Nope.
Catherine Newton as Sammy, a skilled technician and hacker who commits crimes for entertainment.
Yeah, previously...
Well, doesn't need the money. You know.
Previously, we reviewed another movie with her in it called Lisa Frankenstein. You probably remember.
She was cute in that.
So that wasn't too long ago. So it's nice that we're actually kind of reviewing movies that we've already... that cover different people we've already talked about. So go on.
Okay. Kevin Durand as Peter, a physically imposing mercenary and alcoholic. Come on, say which one he was in.
He's the he was in Tragic Girls. He played a slasher killer in that one.
Yeah, he played really good there.
And
I like him.
you can hear in some bits of his dialogue he comes off a roughish type, but the rest of the time he does speak normal most of the time. But he comes off as a bit of the dumb idiot in this one.
Well, yeah, he's a bit slow-witted guy.
Both of those roles he was dumb-witted.
He does well, actually. He's probably nothing like that. And now, here's a sad one. Angus Cloud plays Dean, a talented driver and sociopath. He passed away shortly after the
he did, sadly.
The end of the filming or around the time of the premiere. I can't remember now. But
something about a drug overdose.
Whatever, yeah. So he passed away. So the movie was partly dedicated to him, I believe.
Yeah, it was.
Now, Giancarlo Esposito plays Lambert, the team's shady handler. We won't talk about him just yet. Matthew Good as father Christophe Lazare. That's the little girl's father.
You may know him from Discovery Witches. So he plays a vampire in that. So I guess it's listed in the credits. I don't think he's listed in the credits because...
Yeah, he has a bit part.
Because I guess he didn't want to be remembered as the vampire in the movie, obviously.
Anyway
so
he's the infamous crime lord who shows up right at the end of it and proves to be Abigail's father or maker or something or other, creator or both. Yes. Anyway.
Yeah.
Now... the box office and stuff, it's only new, so it's going to go up from here. But
yes, exactly.
As at the time we printed this off, which was actually, we're recording this on the 12th of May, so you're probably going to see this later in the month. The budget was about 28 mil. The box office so far is about 36 mil, so it's going up and up. Now, this was only released, I believe, in the United States anyway, on the 19th of April this year. So it's only been going for, a little over 3 weeks? 3.5 weeks? Yeah, so it's going really good. It's going gangbusters. I think it's going to go really good in the box office before it hits the home media circus or whatever.
Yeah, I imagine it will be a real circus. I mean, considering the story sounds really interesting.
It's fresh. It's good. It's got some nice little things happening in it.
Yeah, and as I said to Mike earlier, not too long ago, I told him that I hope this movie will be a lot better than the Invitation movie that dealt with another vampire / movie stuff. And of course, I didn't think it was that good because it just lacks something. But in this one, it seems to click all the right. It ticks all the right boxes.
All the right boxes, exactly
so
right.
It was kind of a relief that.
Now, do you want to do something like talk about the movie?
Sure.
Tell the people the story.
The story begins where we see Abigail on the stage, probably rehearsing for a ballerina thingy-wing.
Yeah.
And all the time, there's the music, Swan Lake music, playing in the background.
And she's very good little dancer, she is, actually.
Yeah, which makes me think back to the old monster, Universal classic movies. It mentions much later on about the monster classics, but I won't go into that yet. So anyway, we then meet our other few leads who are planning on kidnapping and in order to get ransom money for their own personal
from
reasons.
her daddy. And I think their leader says we're trying to get $50 million out of daddy, whatever. Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, in the right hands.
Yeah.
Anyway, so after she does her performance. She gets into a car, and when she's outside, there's this really interesting red filter, which makes me think back to Suspiria.
Dario Argento, the way he does his filming.
Yeah.
Nice colouring.
Yeah, it's nice colouring. So she heads home back to her mansion or whatever, and she's on the phone. And while this is happening, the guys that are about to abduct her, they make their plans of getting themselves organized, stuff like that. Of course, we meet. They all have alias names in this.
Yeah,
These are not the real names.
No, well, they're using aliases so no one knows who each other is. So if anyone gets caught, they can't dob the other ones in.
Yes.
Pretty good, hey?
Yeah, so anyway, Jodie is, like we said before, she's a dropped out nurse who is also getting over a drug addict type person.
And considering her name's not Jodie, it's Joey.
Joey, sorry.
Okay.
Anyway, the names have come from the Rat Pack, that particular movie and book, whatever. And so anyway, they then enter Abigail's house, and they sedate her. That's the term. With a drug.
They inject her. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they take her out to their car, and they start making their escape to another mansion that's really run down and very old. And of course, Lambert is there, greets them, says that you guys will get given fake names, so each one of you give me your phones, because they're not supposed to use outside technology for whatsoever.
Well, the idea was we don't want anyone getting on the phone so no one can trace you. GPS sort of thing.
Yeah.
They can trace you by your mobile phones and stuff. I mean, you can talk. You can get in there and say, "Oh, I'm in this really creepy old mansion, darling. I won't be home for dinner." Yeah, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're also given their alias names. Obviously, the leader is Frank. Obviously.
Frank Sinatra.
Joey. And
Joey Bishop.
And Sammy and
Sammy
Peter
Davis.
and what's the weird name? Rickles. Rickles and Dean, who's so they're given their names, and Lambert disappears for a little while. While they're attending the little girl, they lock her into one of the bedrooms upstairs, handcuffs her to it, obviously.
Yeah, well, she's handcuffed anyway.
And binds, not gags her. I mean, what's the term for? Oh yeah, just blindfolds her.
Well, blindfolds actually can't see anybody.
Anyway,
you can't identify them that way.
Jodie's the only one that's allowed to enter
Joey.
and leave the room. I mean, Joey is allowed to leave and enter the room, obviously. Joey is a very nice lady, and she was the first one shocked to find that the abductee is going to be a little girl. She has a maternal instinct, meaning she's
got her own kitty.
She has her own kitty, so she kind of feels like she doesn't want to get too involved, with hurting the child. Of course, Frank, he seems to be dedicated to making it his mission to be the strongest of the group. Anyway, we learned this later on when they're in the bar, and Joey goes on to tells each a little bit something about each of the members of the group.
Yes, he reads the personalities really good.
Yeah, she finds out Frank used to be a detective, and because of the way he walks and struts around, and Sammy came from a wealthy family, which decides to, hack her way to the top, obviously.
See, computer hacks and commits crimes for the fun of it, doesn't need the money because daddy's rich, obviously.
Peter is the muscle, and he only became muscle because he was bullied at school, supposedly.
He was bullied at school, bullied by his parents, everything else, so the only way to survive is to be big and strong and to fight back. And that's what he became.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rickles, or whatever his name is.
Rickles.
He's an ex-army guy, obviously.
Yeah, army, military sniper thing, whatever, yeah.
And Dean he's the lowest of the low, obviously. Meaning he probably would rob a candy store if you asked him. So he's not really a bright
I like
fellow.
lollies. I like candy. Yeah.
Well, anyway, he's just one of those types of guys who's the lowest member of the group. Anyway, we then cut to Joey goes upstairs to check on the little girl, and they talk a little bit, and she asks her about whether or not she'll let her go and stuff like that. And she says she hopes so. And Pinky promises her that she will not get hurt. Yeah. She also gets rid of the blindfold and so she kind of sees at least part of Joey's face, obviously. Of course, she's still handcuffed, obviously. So all the time we watch as she talks to her, obviously, and she kind of wears this. Joey wears a sort of face mask, or not really hair. It's more of a scarf.
A scarf around the bottom of her face.
Yeah.
There you go.
Later on, she's back at the bar, and she talks to Frank about who this little girl's father or family is. Of course, Frank has no clue. He's left in the dark. But he eventually goes and confronts the little girl without a mask, and because he was not told by about how Joey removed the mask.
Well, Joey was going, but they had a rule that Joey was the only one going to be going in the room.
Yeah.
So she made a call to take the blindfold off the little girl and just put a mask on her own face, so the little girl wouldn't be quite so scared. Yeah. Oh, isn't that lovely?
Of course, Frank tells her not to see his face because that would mean jigs up. She'll probably mention
a bullet in the head.
Yes.
Ha, ha.
He then finds out the identity of her father, who turns out to be a crime lord of the underworld. Literally.
That's where crime lords usually hang out.
Well,
Sarah.
In his case, it's pretty much makes sense more. Anyway, he tells his colleagues. Well, before he tells his colleagues, he's about to flee. Wants to let them cut his share of the loot and just let him go
He's
off.
Out of it. Yeah,
of course, they ask him what's going on, and they find out from him about how Abigail is the daughter of who she is.
Lazar.
Yes, a very wealthy guy who's not only just a crime boss, but it goes deeper than that.
Look, say at this point in time he's known as a crime lord, a very high-ranking one who's got a lot of power.
Yeah, and no one can touch. And in other words, he could not be touched or traced or fined.
And he's mean and horrible.
And
mean and horrible.
Yeah. No. Anyway, and of course they even talk about how a few of his members who were taken in police custody were ripped to shreds, and they think it was probably an assassin that was hired by her father, obviously, who kind of ripped them apart, organs, blood, you name it, gone.
Yes.
Anyway,
dog food.
Yeah. Anyway, as they make their, they start organizing their, to keep the place secure. So everyone's given a set of places to keep alert. The guy obviously is I won't mention his name again because it sounds ridiculous every time I say it.
What, Rickles?
Rickles. He's assigned a rifle and stays up in an attic room next to where Abigail was, obviously. And the others scout ahead while Sammy is in a room watching Woody the Woodpecker, whatever.
He knows Woody Woodpecker. Yeah,
Dean
I used to watch him.
Does a bit of jump scare on her, and she tells him to go get lost. And we see him wandering around the corridors, and here he encounters something that he cannot explain, and he gets dragged off screen and gets killed. And then Sammy comes down there and she finds his body and his head completely hacked off.
Yeah. He really lost his head.
The others soon arrive, and of course they're all surprised and stuff. And this is where they also mention more about the assassin, about the fact he killed those people in the detective was guarding. Like he knew about the Lazar guy, and he was taking these guys into custody so he can get the full stuff on him, obviously. But of course, it didn't work out, and so they know this assassin is the most dangerous of people. So they decide to continue scouting for this assassin. Obviously, of course. Joey goes back to the little girl, asking her if she's seen anything there see anyone that was not really there, obviously. And of course, she just says nothing. And of course, I should have mentioned this earlier, but she did warn her about what was going to happen earlier, obviously, because she said something about she's afraid of what's going to happen to her, obviously.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. Anyway, she then meets up. Joey meets up with Rickles, and they think we get a connection, but there's no point in going into it because soon enough he gets nicked off next, and really fast, because before you can even blink or even bat an eyelid. When you think about that scene, you see that he ends up getting his throat cut, and this was only very quickly because they were about to part, go their, in different directions, and we only see him standing there, and we just see the fact his throat and his cheek were totally ripped apart, obviously, like really quickly. Anyway, so they realize they're in danger, so they then make a point of trying to flee, of course. But in this point in time, as they're about to flee, the whole house goes into lockdown. I think, well, this was before Rickles.
The windows and doors seal, a little bit like in House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah, I should have mentioned this happened earlier before Rickles gets murdered, and also his rifle disappears. So both events were, something bizarre, obviously. So they're actually in bigger trouble now that the place is locked down, and they think it's the Tsar doing this, obviously, but it couldn't be because it doesn't make sense. Anyway, they make a plan of actually probably trying to get the girl to talk and try to get her to find out if the assassin is there. Of course, they plan on killing the girl, obviously. Of course, Frank is the one who pretty much just pushes this idea because he thinks, but we also learned that Joey finds out from the Abigail that Frank was the assassin, and she plans on trying to kill him, but then Frank wants Peter to go ahead and kill the girl because he thinks she knows something and all that stuff. So they go upstairs. They continue fighting. Joey tries to defend Abigail, but when they're arguing and getting into a huffle, Abigail removes the handcuffs, like slides them off her hands.
She's really good at it.
And then we see that she's on the bed and she starts making gestures, and soon enough we see her real face change. There we realize that they have just kidnapped a vampire.
And then they just realise that she is Lazar's enforcer, Valdez. Ah.
Yeah. I should also, guys, mention, during some of the scenes, we do see portraits and a statue of...
Yeah, the statue of a tall man and a short girl. And then we see an oil painting or something or other.
Yeah,
and
it looks just like...
It's an old period, something like 100 years, 200 years ago. And looks like the same little girl.
Yeah, so anyway...
The plot is thickening now.
Yeah, they realise now that they have kidnapped a vampire and they are all screwed. So Frank and the group try to work out a possible way of killing Abigail. Steak, the crosses, silver.
Old age won't work.
Well, not silver. They don't mention that part. And, of course, most of the time... They do get the myths wrong here, because in this one, even the girl Sammy ends up getting what was it? She didn't get garlic. She got something else.
No. She was told to go to the kitchen to get some garlic.
Yes.
She came back with onions.
Yes.
And she says, I don't know. I don't cook. Rather good that. Rather funny that.
Yeah.
Little rich girl. Never seen a kitchen in her life.
Joey thinks that they can possibly capture Abigail and bargain with her father for their lives. But they don't think so. They think they should just kill her and get out of there, obviously. So they gather what weapons they can and confront her. There we see her carrying the dead body of Dean, and just dancing with it in her tutu.
Yes.
And the tutu is very new, because in the other one she wore just an ordinary skirt, but in this one she looks like she's really dressed like a prima donna.
She's got a rich little kid. Yeah.
Anyway,
little vampire kid.
Yeah. And of course, she attacks them, and the weapons they wielding don't work.
Yeah, gee, I wonder why.
Yes. Anyway, they head back down, and Joey's like saying, "Oh, you're still alive." Whatever. Anyway, so she realizes that the best way they can do was use the sedative that she has 2 sedatives. You know, the ones that she used before and now. And she explained that when she was passed out earlier, it was for real. Like, she really did pass out.
She checked her pulse rate and everything, and it had settled down and whatever. But I still said to Sarah, says vampires don't have a pulse; they're dead.
True.
However,
but they do have a
never
stomach.
let the truth get in the way of a good story.
But they do have a stomach, Mike. How else would they end up getting hungry every time they have the urge to have a nibble?
And then
Yes.
nibble. Okay, right.
Anyway,
Nibble.
so they all split up, which is the most no-no in the
Why
movie.
do they split up when there's something going on? Well, you go that way and I'll go that way, and we'll meet later on. No.
Yeah. Anyway, they go their separate ways, and Sammy goes into one of the rooms and finds a pool of dead bodies. I mean,
A swimming pool
dozens
full
of
of
dead bodies. And
Then someone realises then that they're not the first.
yes. And meanwhile, Peter, he actually meets the little girl when he was having a splinter in his thumb for the
He's
whole
a big
steak
sookie. I've
thing.
got a splinter on my finger.
Yeah, he gets chased by Abigail, and they soon enough meet in the middle, and where Frank and Joey, they fight and try to sedate her, which they do, and they lock her inside a damaged elevator,
Yeah, made like a cell. Yeah.
Yeah. Here she tries to play the innocent little girl, blah blah. But then she realizes this is not going to go well, so she decides to tell them the truth. It turns out Abigail, she brought them there. Like, this whole kidnap scenario was all her devised by her.
And Lambert helped to put the team together of the people she selected.
Yes, she knows them, or at least she knows of them.
They had dealings with her father's group in a negative way. How's that?
Yeah. So I'll start off with Sammy. Her name. Well, I'm not going to bring her up with name again. So Sammy is a girl who hacked her parents' accounts and their overseas accounts, and then decides to use her talents for the work by accessing other people's accounts.
And she just happened to have hacked her daddy's accounts.
Yes.
Whoops.
Then we meet Peter, whose his history is he worked for a lot of other people who kind of thought he was a lower fish because of he's the dumbest of the group.
He's dumb, but he's just a strong arm guy, an enforcer type guy. Yeah.
He killed them, and he took their money. That was their share, and of course most of those people worked for Abigail's father, obviously. And now we get to Frank. Frank is a detective, and he had arrested several of Abigail's dad's colleagues.
The ones who got killed,
and were slaughtered by Abigail. And he knew he was going to get into big trouble by those bosses, so he fled and left his family, not because their protection, but to protect himself, like the coward he is.
Exactly.
Now we get to Joey's story, where she was a medic for an army, and she got a little addicted to morphine, and then she kind of abandoned her son, who was living with with his father.
I don't think she actually abandoned, because she was in a bad place, and she had to leave the kid in a safe place.
She started working for some shady people, and one of the people was needed to get some surgery done. But when she was high on morphine, she nicked an artery, and the guy died. And this person was a close colleague to
her father.
Abigail's father.
Whoops.
And
it's like Mr. Saw all over again, isn't it?
Even though Joey has cleaned herself up, and she hopes with the money she earns from the abduction will probably
new life
with her son. She has cleaned up her act. Like, she's she's
Still broke.
but she's going to try to get her life together. Of course, Abigail scoffs at this and says that none of you guys are not the first I've brought here. I've brought all my dad's enemies to their demise in this sort of place. And so they won't be any different than the people she killed in the past. Of course,
exactly.
She goes on to explain, if you release me, 2 of you will live. But then that plan, that idea was backfires, and she says only one of you will walk away and live with your organs attached.
Yes.
Of course, Joey, Sam, and Peter, they know that this is not. They should just use her to. Well, the group thinks that they should just butt her for their lives to her dad. Of course, Abigail says that her father doesn't love her. This is more an attention-seeking thingy wing, because it turns out that because she mentioned to Joey that her father has lost interest in her, and she hopes with the amount of dead bodies, the people that she killed in the past, he would probably sit up and take notice. This is more like, as I said in the past, this is just attention seeking that she's trying to get him to look at her and start loving her again. And I think Joey can see that because she, as I said before, she's a mother, so she's actually experienced this sort of stuff. This is nothing new, when you think about it. So Joey knows that they're going to be screwed either way, so they try to go back upstairs, and of course leaving Frank with Abigail. Of course, Abigail tries to give him her plan in place by saying, if you let me out, I'll let you live and stuff like that. Organs, blood, it's still, keep you intact and all that stuff, and you can just walk out way.
Yay.
Of course, he says, I will walk away if I'll let you out if you give me the an escape route out of there. She says, if I tell you, you will just leave me there. Of course, he doesn't want to listen to her, and so he walks off, obviously, but she eventually caves and says that there's a secret door behind the bookcase and something about, what's it called, and there are none at the book, obviously. Anyway, he kind of rattles the gate a little bit, but he doesn't really fully open it. But then Abigail laughs and then kind of pushes the door open
and breaks the gate off.
And she starts fighting him, and eventually the rest of the group arrive back in there, and she bites Sammy, and the rest of the group quickly get back to the hall, obviously. And there, he tries to use this little new bit of information to get out, but it doesn't work. It turns out that she turned the tables on him again.
Yeah, she lied. Can't trust vampires, can you? No.
It's soon I think it's around daytime now when you think about it.
I think the sun's coming up, yeah.
And they try to use this to their advantage by staying in the spotlight, obviously. And while
there's a bit of a sunspot coming down through a skylight or something or other in the middle of the floor of the library or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. Joey tries to break through the wooden panels in the walls. Of course, this is futile, obviously.
Because there's no way out. Bugger.
Yeah. Later on, they decide to try to go, try again to try to find a way to, try to get out, obviously. And of course, they split into groups, teams, obviously. Sammy, Peter go together, and here Abigail kind of control Sammy, because she's been bitten. Not exactly a vampire.
She's been bitten, not dead yet, but I think we call him a thrall. And she's like a puppet, so she can control her actions. Yeah.
She starts taking her control and then devours Peter, or drinks his blood and stuff like that. And then soon enough, the rest, both Frank and Joey appear, and she pretends to be Sam, but you could tell right away she's not really fully. It's not really seriously Sam, obviously. And soon enough, she turns and she starts chasing after him. Well, it's more of a dancing and chasing, because she's a bit of doing a ballerina routine throughout this movie.
She's emulating the same moves as Abigail's doing in the other room.
Yeah, throughout this movie, she doesn't chase them like ordinary vampires in the past. She actually walks and does twirls, spins like a ballerina, obviously. Anyway, soon enough, they head back into the hallway, and soon enough, Joey uses the metal dish and reflects the sun into her face, and she explodes. Yeah, explodes.
Bang.
Yeah, soon enough, the bookshelf door opens, and we don't know how that happened, but then again, it does not matter in this movie. They then enter, and then they head inside. They hear a bit of voices that's coming from a CCTV thingy, and they head in there, and we find Mr. Lambert watching the footage, and it turns out to be a vampire.
Yeah, he'd been working for the Abigail. He was turned earlier.
Yeah, see, he was turned 2 years ago, and from then on, he's become a servant to Abigail, getting the people to, get killed off, obviously. And here he wants Frank to become a vampire
to join
too.
Him.
Yes. Yeah, he contacted Abigail's father to come there at once, and of course, he wants to kill not only Abigail, but he wants to kill her father so they can control everything. Anyway.
Yeah. Lambert says, I'll turn you into a vampire so we kill Abigail and her father.
Yeah.
And you'll be a powerful vampire like me, and we'll have all the money and everything.
Yeah. At this point in time, you can see in Frank's character, he is always about the one who wants to be in control of everything.
He's all about Frank. He doesn't care about anybody else. So this sounds like a good idea.
So he allows Lambert to bite him and transform him, and then later on, he actually kills Lambert when his back is turned. And this is where Joey is realizing that she's screwed, and then Abigail appears, and she plans on killing Frank, obviously. But Frank takes advantage of her and starts biting her hard. And eventually, while this is happening, Joey quickly unlocks the security around the perimeter of the house. Unlocking the security.
Yeah, there's a little button there in the CCTV room. Yes.
She also grabs her phones, one of the phones.
Her phone.
Yeah, and quickly scatters out of there while both Frank and Abigail are fighting. There in the hall, she tries to open one of the servants' doors, obviously, but it doesn't work, and it's chain locked, obviously. And here she does take a moment to take out her phone and start saying goodbye, hopefully saying goodbye to her son, thinking that she'll not survive the night. Because now it's nighttime again, which is really, really weird when you think about it.
Time is moving quickly in this place.
Oh, yes. Anyway, soon enough, Frank is approaching, and then he pushes Joey through the door with his vampire strength and starts fighting Joey as much as he could. And he plans on making Joey into his puppet so he can kill Abigail.
So he bites her, and he wants to use Joey to kill Abigail.
Yeah, he pushes her off, off a ledge, and Abigail saves her. And she tells her that she cannot defeat Frank on her own. She's weak, and she's got not enough life.
So Abigail and Joey team up to fight Frank.
Of course, at first, Frank assumes that now he bitten Joey, he can make her his puppet and stuff. But here's the big but: he has no real master over being a vampire as of yet.
He's a newbie.
Yes. He then tries to get her to get up, saying, Joey, get up, stuff like that. But then she quickly attacks him, and then Abigail and her, they both stake him. And while they're about to stake him, Abigail tells them that it takes more than centuries to be able to access those abilities as a vampire. Yes. So it doesn't just take...
He's only an apprentice now.
Yes. Yeah. And so he gets staked and he blows apart. And then they both get up off the floor, and we notice the bite marks on Joey's shoulder are gone, including the wound that she had, a wound that was supposedly from a sort of stake or spear.
But,
It's indicating that maybe she, during her vampire state, it healed while she was briefly a thrall.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Abigail tells her that now that Frank's dead, she's no longer a vampire.
Yeah.
Or even a thrall.
Yeah, see, lovely.
She's about to head out, and she remarks to her that she hopes she can get her son Justin back, who is actually named Caleb, obviously. And she says she knows. I think all the time she knows all along. She knew. Then
I think she stayed up on the people before she stole them.
Yes.
Got them into this house. Yeah.
Then soon enough, Abigail's father arrives and plans on killing Joey, of course. Abigail defends her, saying that Joey saved her life and was there for her when he wasn't.
He was on a business trip.
He was remarking to her that you called me and stuff like that. And of course they stare each other down, and you get a bit of an expression coming across his face saying that I think she was conveying the fact that I needed you, and
I want you,
and
Daddy.
I want you, Father. And I think you can see from his lip
a bit of softening.
And he says, "I'm here now." And he then approaches Joey and sort of offers his hand, and she took her hand and starts kissing it. I think he was tasting a little bit of the blood that was off Frank and all the other victims. And he remarks that you should go because it's getting close to dinner time.
Yes.
So she is about to head off, and then Abigail says that all the best to her. And so Joey gets back out of the house and heads to the van, which they came in earlier. And there she takes out a lollipop and she drives away to an unknown future, hopefully to get reunited with her son. I hope. That's Abigail, guys. Sorry for that longness. But it was a good movie, and I thought I wanted to cover every part of it, obviously. I think it's interesting. A lot of people have been talking about it and saying that they hope for a sequel out of it, or a prequel. But I think this is one of those...
I think it should be a standalone film.
Yeah, this is one of those movies that does not require a sequel or a prequel, to be, in my opinion.
No, leave it alone. It's good by itself. I think a prequel or a sequel will take away more than it gives. Yeah.
Also, the fact that when people try to do ones that try to emulate bringing, doing the story with Abigail again, it will be different because then they would have to mean to recast an actor or have to de-age them. Most of the time, sometimes studios may not do that. I mean, there was one
studio... try to get somebody else to do the role. It just doesn't fit.
Yeah, or one production where they did a movie, say... They did one years ago that was called The Orphan. That was done in 2009. And then years later, they made a sequel. Well, that's more of a sequel. It's more of a prequel. And they had to not exactly use CGI. They actually got the original actress and got her to dress down as a little kid. But the problem was, you can actually tell by her features that she's grown quite a bit around the face,
yeah.
It's a little different. I mean...
She's been eating too much.
Yes. So it's a different matter. It's just like, well, it's not really just like anything. It's just that if they did bring back the girl playing Abigail, her features may change, considering. Anyway, so I do think this movie's really good, and I think it's a lot more better than other vampire movies I've seen so far.
It's a nice twist. I mean, it's like the one of that vampire lady who was going after criminals and stuff. I mentioned the other day.
Yeah.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Innocent Blood was pretty cool.
Innocent Blood, yeah. I like that one, yeah. So it was something a bit different, yeah.
And I did think it was an interesting approach. Instead of where you have heard us talk about movies that take place inside one place, and stuff like that.
And this happened pretty much, apart from getting there, it was pretty much in one building.
And the rest of the time, it was one of those rundown house buildings.
It wasn't that run down. It was pretty nice, actually, most of it.
Yeah, very Victorian.
There's a couple of dodgy rooms, but apart from that, it was pretty good, yeah. I could live there.
I did think it was pretty cool, especially the fact that they were trying to figure out who the threat was, and it turned out that it was the little girl. And that's an interesting twist. Instead of an outside or creepy monster outside the room, or even an alien thing, or just natural hauntings, obviously, stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is just an interesting approach where the girl and the her father were both vampires and stuff like that. And I like the fact that she's just doing it for attention seeking, like most kids these days are always looking for the attention they want from
mummies and daddies.
Sometimes even the wealthier,
that's probably
popular ones, they probably do
worse.
go from that.
You get raised by the nannies and other staff members and housekeepers and stuff, while mummy and dad are out doing their own stuff. So yeah,
I like
anyway.
it that Matthew Goody came on board, and of course it's all sad that he didn't want to be credited in this movie, obviously, but that's his decision. He may not want to be known as the vampire, of all vampires in movies. And a lot of people have mentioned this online, that they think that this Lazarus guy he was playing, I think that most people kept saying that they think that he is possibly Dracula or something. Like, they were going to call this movie Dracula's Daughter.
After 1936 movie, whatever.
Yeah, they were going to do that, but I think they probably thought, nah, it would be just too much.
Too campy.
Too campy. Yeah, it's an interesting name for that day, but if it was too obvious, the story and the direction it will go before it hits the studio, hits the theaters, stuff like that. And anyway, I do think it's worth watching.
I think it's good. Now, I won't go through all the reviews, but most of the people think it was great. How's that?
Right.
I'll give you 1 or 2 examples. I won't go through all of them. Okay, Rotten Tomatoes, 84% out of 189 critic reviews. There you go. So that's a good indication. Metacritic, 62 out of 100. Everyone else liked it as well. So, hey, this is great. It's fantastic. Yeah. So it's got something. There's enough action in it. There's enough blood in it. There's enough jump scares. Well, a few jump scares, but it's a lot of gore, a bit of gore in it and stuff. It comes together. I wouldn't say there's any dead bits in it, would you?
I wouldn't say no dead bits.
It just
there was
flows nicely.
There were moments when they have to go around searching for stuff.
Yeah, but still the atmosphere was building up. That sort of stuff. And it didn't have that sort of, okay, what are we going to do now? And
it's a different approach where the hero doesn't go off in the sunset, but goes off into the nighttime. Because most of the time, people think the nighttime is when the monsters come out. Well, in this case, we already had the daytime moments where the heroes are less in danger, and then we had the moments where the fact it takes place at nighttime. And I like the fact that it somehow had a different shift in productions. Like, you keep thinking it's sunlight or it's sunrise or sunsets, and that means that you're safe, there's no danger about, but it's a different approach.
Yeah, actually, you did say something about he might have been Dracula, but he did actually say something unknown by many other names or something or other, over the years. So it was implying that he may have been Dracula, but it didn't actually say he had been a Dracula at some time in his previous,
makes sense.
Previous history. So it doesn't actually say.
Well,
but he did imply he's been known by other names. Because I saw a movie once. I can't remember what it was called now. It was supposed to be some sort of vampire-y thing, and it went back to the first vampire was actually Judas Iscariot.
Yeah, I remember that one, Dracula 2000.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. And he had 30 pieces of silver. That's why silver was a weapon against him and different things. It all came together very nicely. So
yeah.
And if he was 2,000 years old, he could have quite a few names.
Of course, when they were discussing how to defeat a vampire, the heroes try to work out, are we talking about Agatha Christie, Twilight, blah, blah. And, of course, in this one, the stake most likely would be a threat, obviously.
I wouldn't want one.
Garlic crosses, not so much.
Hey, what if you're an Italian vampire? You wouldn't mind garlic, would you?
True.
Aha, there you go then.
And, of course, the sunlight, which proves that that's effective, obviously.
Well, sunlight, or you see darkness and light, so the creatures of the dark, so light's their enemy, so that should be always a given, that one.
Also, in the story, Abigail let slip in the movie that the mansion they were in, the ruined
old one here, where they were
turns out to be where she was created. So this may...
Oh, yes, I was created in this room or something or other. Yeah, he said that, yeah.
Seeing as it probably takes... Was it take place in America or England?
I would say... The blot says in New York City, so I would say it was in New York.
Yeah, so New York would have been...
Yep.
Seeing as the house looked like a bit Victorian-ish.
Yeah, but they built houses like that as well. For rich people, you know. Yeah.
Anyway, so if he created her there, she may have been American over here, and he just taken her from her home or her parents, and turned her. Don't know why he wanted a child. By the sounds of it, he wanted company, like a little bit like Interview in the Vampire, where Van Rice and with Louis and Amy, obviously, and stuff. I don't know if it has any. I don't think there's any romantic involvement in the story.
No, just father and daughter. You need a bit of companionship along the way.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that Abigail was able to confide to her father that she needed him, like she wants his attention and stuff like that, because I think she loves him and stuff like that. Yeah. And I think that she feels like she's being neglected.
Probably, businessmen, Anyway,
I think that's why she's been going out of her way to kill the enemies of her father, to try to win back his affection.
Yeah, we're going into overtime.
Sorry.
Oh, excuse me, I'm yawning. Oh, yeah, sorry about it.
So, what should we rate this one now?
Well, I don't often give it a 10, but I like this one. I cannot find anything wrong with this film, and I think it's going to do gangbusters in the cinema over the next couple of months before it goes into home media. So I'm going to give this a 10.
I'm going to give it 10 out of 10 myself,
Woo.
Too. And this is...
Excuse me.
Yeah, so I kind of like it because it does set in motion a different approach to the vampire folklore story.
I like the actors they chose.
Me too.
I mean, even the girl who played Abigail, a young girl, she has a very interesting role and she handles it quite well. Yeah, I like it. Everything good about it,
Yeah, I did wonder whether or not they did they, in the last minute when they were doing the vampire, did they change the actor in one scene?
What do you mean?
Well, in the opening, when Abigail was at home and her dad drove up and stuff like that, the voice for the father sounded different.
I can't remember.
It could be either him or one of his servants were calling her.
It could be one of his servants.
I often wondered to myself whether or not his other people that worked for him were vampires
Lambert
too.
could have picked her up from the ballet.
True.
You never know. We didn't see the face.
Actually, yeah. Actually, it was a white chauffeur. I was referring to the fact when her father drove up to come to the house, you see a hooded figure, obviously, and wearing a white hood and stuff. Yeah. And then we hear, when the kidnappers are kidnapping Abigail downstairs, you can hear a voice saying, "Abigail." And it didn't sound like Matthew Goody. I think it might have even been one of his servants calling for her.
Because Daddy wasn't home.
No, he was home. He came home when they were...
Right at the end.
Yeah, no, right at the end. Right when he arrived at the opening.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you.
When they were kidnapping her, sedate her, they were trying to get away while he was just arriving, meaning the guys, the lookout guys, noticed his car driving up to their home, their current home at the time. And
okay, I'm with that scene. Okay, yeah. But we didn't see his face, though.
No, we didn't.
So we don't know whether it was her person who's come to pick her up to do something, or Daddy, but Daddy showed up right at the end. That's why she's trying to get his attention. So if he was there, she wouldn't have been abducted.
Okay. Anyway, that's what they said in the opening, where they said when they got abducted, Abigail, the guys who were doing the lookout, Dean and Sammy, they remarked, "Oh, oh no, it's Lambert. I mean, not Lambert. I mean, Lazar's car driving up, and along with his chauffeur." He came out of this car wearing a white robe and hood. You couldn't see his face, and he was heading towards into the house, obviously. And then the group were panicking, and they start hearing voices, and then they hear a voice calling Abigail, obviously, but she was unconscious at this point. And so they slip out and try to get into their escape car and try to get to the next location.
But like I said, didn't see his face.
Yep.
And she was trying to get Daddy's attention by setting all this up herself, and Lambert was on her side.
Yeah.
I'm sure Daddy would not have been there. That's what I'm saying. It might have been a keeper, a custodian, somebody, but that's why he didn't see the person's face, possibly. Don't know.
Anyway, I did think it was interesting that Lambert was going to try to gain everything from, even though they're both men, both Lambert and Frank, they were inexperienced vampires and they were underlings. Well, I think they're underlings, in my opinion.
Well, Lambert had been a vampire for a couple of years.
2 years.
A couple
which
of
is
years.
not too long.
I just said that, a couple of years. He got a bit of an idea. And if he could kill Abigail and Lazar, Lambert could take over as crime boss.
Yeah, but Frank turns out he doesn't want to be an underling. He wanted to be
King
wants to be the only lead, vampire around.
He want to get all the money.
He want to be the head.
Guy.
That's why I think when he was running the crew, he was he was a nasty leader, and including there were even bits where he and Joey, who had common ground, where he abandoned his family and she
had to leave her boy behind,
and he was even going to attempt. I didn't mention this earlier because I wanted to get to the ending, but he was going to have her kill her son and stuff like that. He obviously has no heart. He didn't think that Joey deserves a sort of a restart in her life.
Anyway, we're past telling the story.
I know, but it was some things I wanted to bring up.
We're in the epilogue now.
Yes, sorry. So that's Abigail. So now it's
where do you get it?
Well, it's still in cinemas as we speak.
Wait a minute. No, it's starting to come out now already.
Oh, goody.
So I'm a bit surprised, but I did see it. But be careful. Like I said, there might be some bad or incorrect listings, and they could be pirate copies. Do not know.
Yeah.
eBay has it for sale. Amazon has it for rent or buy. Okay. Now, what I'm going to say is, though, when I was going through especially the eBay, there had multiple listings there, they had the title of Abigail 2024 and the right picture. But when the description of it says, this is a sporting thing or something rather, there's something wrong with the site, so I don't know whether it's the right product.
Well, I did say, Mike, that there were 2 Abigail movies that came out, and 1 year ago it was a different movie called Abigail 2.
I just said this film with this date, with that picture on the title, and the same stuff, that had wrong information on the site.
Yeah.
It could be corrupted. That's what I was trying to say. But there's also one with a similar cover dated the same year called Ballerina. And it looks just like this cover almost, but there's guns all around an older lady in a ballet dress. So be very careful when looking for it. But I'm pretty sure the Amazon one's safe. eBay, just be careful what you click on.
Yeah. And as I said, guys, check the date. And the list of actors.
I always go by the director and the actors, the main actors. If their names show up, you're probably safe. There you go then. Okay. Can't think of anything else to say. Good night. No.
So that's Abigail, guys. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this review.
I think this is going to be a good movie. I think it's going to make a mark.
Yeah. I just hope they don't make a sequel or prequel.
Oh no, I think it'd damage it.
I think we've already seen the damage.
Abigail too, but then she's a vampire.
Yeah.
You didn't know she's a vampire at the beginning of the movie. And then if you start the next movie saying, we know she's a vampire, it's just going to take so much away from it.
Yeah. It's just like
Yeah.
any other movie that deals with twists and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's about it from us, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I hope you
did.
guys be sure to let us know if you have any other movies you wish us to review. So
nice.
this is Sarah Stephenson
And Michael.
saying see you guys around on Boys and Ghouls Film Review. Bye for now, and have a good week.
Bye, guys.